be Dr. Norton, University of Georgia, Pharmacy School. Dr. Emeritus Professor, I believe. He's appreciate his current input and past input. And again, I apologize. We did check it yesterday and called early this morning and it still hasn't helped. So I apologize.
I just want to clarify a couple of things. I'm not getting paid by anyone to be here. I just want to let y'all know that. My background is that I'm a clinician. I've been a practicing pharmacist in the state of Georgia for over 50 years in multiple settings. Went back to school, got a new doctorate specific to the University of Georgia to do the research, which I'm really, really excited about the researchers that have been presented so far today, having to do with addiction science. Retired in 2021 because my wife developed late stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma she was at the stage of death. Fortunately, because of miracle of science and because of medicine, she's in complete remission as of today. And she's taking care of the dog. That's why I'm here. I have a dog that loves me and hates her, but she decided it was important for me to be here. So not to take up your time, I'm not going to regurgitate the things that, these marvelous speakers have presented, both in a good way and given me a lot of thoughts. I've taken a lot of notes. But my question and my concern was, this was a Blue Ribbon Study Committee on Youth Exposure to Kratom. So what I wanted to do is, and I haven't heard a lot about what happens to the adolescent brain when Kratom is used. As most of the researchers have indicated, if it be a regulated state or an unregulated state, these kids are able to find the products and we don't know what's in them. I, as a pharmacist, and I have several of the pharmacists here will reiterate, I don't know what's in the problem. You're going to ask me, Merrill, would you recommend Kratom to one of your patients? And the answer is that no. My best advice to them is buyer beware, because I have no clue. And being a pharmacist, there are things that I got to know dosing, and we have multiple ways to consider the dosing, whatever we're going to do in the research. Which molecule are we going to dose? Because we got more than one molecule, and that's been clarified very much today. What's the tolerance curve? What's the genomics? How does your genetics affect the effect? I know with opioid substance use disorders, there are people who are wired to be opiate use disordered individuals. They can take high amounts of an opioid and do very well, very similar to genetic alcoholics. But we don't know that, y'all. We don't know that. And then the adverse drug effects. All right. Because my time is short and I wanted to, and it's hot. Let's talk about the adolescent brain a minute. The adolescent brain is the brain that transitions from a childhood brain to an adult brain. Adolescence is the culmination of taking a child, a predominantly electrical, somewhat chemical brain, and converting it into an adult brain, which is somewhat electrical and chemical, and it functions. That adolescent world is about 11 to 12 years old. It takes that time. So what happens is they're more vulnerable to substance use disorders. It takes less than 2 years for an average of an individual under the age of 15 using a psychoactive substance to develop a substance use disorder. Unfortunately, we don't have effective treatments for them because we don't have a lot of adolescent treatment facilities in the state of Georgia to deal with substance use disorder. It's another issue for another day, but I'm going to tell you, when you talk about something that we're talking about here that has the potential to impact an adolescent brain, then the first thing I'm going to tell you, you don't need to have it anywhere close to anybody until the science says, this is how you take it, this is what you do with it, this is what we're going to do with it. And without that complete review that's approved not only from the state, but also the FDA and all of us. Now, adolescents are unique in that their brains develop differently. As y'all have had adolescents, I've got 2 of my adult children in the audience, thank goodness. They got through adolescence, not a whole lot of trouble, a lot of money, but no trouble. But the thing about it is, the prefrontal cortex, the limbic reward system, the hippocampus, the stress circuitry, the myelinated executive control networks. Now, let me tell you something about that. My studies having to do with psychoactive substances has to do with neuroinflammation. Neuroinflammation is the impact of a drug passing the blood-brain barrier into the neocortex and inflaming that part of the brain. And that's where we see psychoactive drugs being so. So if y'all want to research out here, y'all also include your neuroinflammation as you look at that. Because the thing about it is the adolescent brain is vulnerable. And what happens to the blood-brain barrier is when these molecules begin to hit this blood-brain barrier, as with some substances, guess what? It creates holes in the dam. And when them holes in that blood-brain barrier has certain molecules get passed through. So we may have, as we say, the mitragynine, it may pass through, and maybe the 7-OH may not, but as a result of impact to those, it could. So the thing is, we have that impact, and that affects their executive control. The reward system sensitization changes. In other words, the dopaminergic system, the serotonergic system, the systems that are histaminic systems. You know, we got a new histamine H3 receptor in the brain that's responsible for a lot of our dementias. Guess what this drug is going to do? I'll guarantee you the researchers will find it will impact that brain at a young age, and they can have early onset dementias down in their adulthood. And the problem that comes with that, y'all, is we really need to review these drugs thoroughly before we pass anything that says they're legal. As many of them said, I've done some of that secret shopping, and I've had some issues. I have calls from all kinds of folks in my small practice because I'm mainly an educator now. I try to retire today. I could have been on the golf course today, but here I am. But thank y'all for your committee work. I really am. I salute you for that. So what we see is when you change that hippocampal component in the brain, you change their learning component. Now, you can talk to the Department of Education right now. You can talk to them and talk about the dropouts that we're having in the state of Georgia and the reason that we're having so decline in our math and reading. You know, when I unfortunately taught at the University of Georgia, you would find some of the finest students available. But how many students don't make it to that extent? And is it drug, you know, is it this particular drug? You have mood, anxiety, and stress disorders, which are even more significant. And once they start, y'all, we can't stop them. And then, of course, the risk of dependence and withdrawal. And I think several of the speakers have indicated is kratom, and I know it's got multiple molecules. Is it an opioid, or if it's not, yes, it is. It's, you know, kratom itself, and in fact, I've read one of the researchers, some of their data on, I think it's the University of Florida, said it's like a codeine effect, which is a mild opioid, but yet it can affect it. So what I'd want y'all to know is that adolescents, when they take a concentrated 7-OH, according to this researcher, it can create an opioid-like intoxication. It creates sedation that leads to accidents, severe impaired driving, respiratory risk would combine, if they combine it with alcohol, marijuana, other drugs. There's not just a single drug on board as a rule. Rapid tolerance, severe withdrawal, compulsive use. And the thing that I will say about this particular compound, it is the gateway drug to other opioids that are now available. Do y'all realize I've got to do a talk in Norcross tomorrow, and then I've got to do a talk in Forsyth. Tomorrow it's prescription misuse to a group up there. And then in Forsyth County, I've got to go talk to the drug court folks about psychotropics and the medications can be used to help put those people back together. I cannot tell you how important it is to do your work and do it thoroughly, y'all. Like I say, I come voluntarily. I do what I do most of the time, help families get treatment, help them understand why I've had 59 suicides on my watch in my career, y'all. Multiple drugs, you understand. It saddens me. It saddens me to see the 17-year-old down the street who is hopefully, and his mother's a great neighbor, call me and talk to me about, well, he's using this little bottle of stuff and he says it's kratom, and what can I do? What can I do? And many of y'all had those same calls. We need to stop it. And the only way you stop it is you ban it until science comes up with an alternative. Now, I will say this, harm reduction, I'm a big harm reduction person. If there's individuals who are in opioid withdrawal and they would like to have a Kratom-like product, we have clinics that could be set up for that. MOU clinics, they're medically supervised. It would be the safe thing to do. And I'll be the last one to tell you, if you want to get your prescription drugs filled, you're going to take them to a gas station to get them filled. Because I'm telling you, a lot of these gas stations turn into be big corporates, and they're nice things, but they have very, very sophisticated ways of selling things. But then look at the bathrooms. You know, you go to some of these places and you wouldn't think about using their bathroom, but yet they sell these products. Do they know those products? The answer to that is no. So I'll come here kind of as an advocate to protect the youth, our next generation of Georgians, because that's why when I retired from the University of Georgia, I was in treatment for a very long time, and treatment works, but a lot of people don't make it. I went to prevention. And that's where I spend my time now, is prevention. I'm so thrilled to everyone who presented today and who's been here. I've got a tremendous education, and this information that they've given me and these studies and that information that I requested from you is to educate physicians and practitioners and all of those that I travel the country doing all the time. So thank you very much. I know I didn't provide you any specific statistics. I don't like a lot of statistics because they change every day. So I conclude my remarks. Any questions you may have?
Thank you, Dr. Norton. I appreciate it. I don't think so. And we'll connect again for sure.